Is this your last throw of the dice?
Absolutely not. We have produced today a budget.
This is a country ravaged by economic shocks, at best drifting, at worst stagnant. We all know about its potential, but we've had 7 quarters of falling GDP per head. That's been revised downwards. We're hooked on foreign labour. The birth rate is collapsing. Many public services are creaking. Councils are going bust. Those are facts. Has your budget really come even close to meeting the scale of the challenges this country faces?
By the way, I think the overall characterisation that you've just given of the British economy is unworthy of the BBC, because we have grown faster.
You can criticise the BBC. The BBC is an organisation with tens of thousands of people who do lots of different things. There is no such thing as the BBC, and I'm putting to you facts about this country, which a lot of people feel.
It's unworthy of you, Amol.
Well, what have I said that's incorrect?
Well, will you let me answer the question?
You were teasing Angela Rayner about her multiple house problem. How many houses have you got?
Well, look, these are personal questions, Robert, and
why raise it? It was a personal thing for her.
I was teasing Angela Rayner. You know, we declare all these things.
You have got multiple houses. You will benefit from the CGT change, won't you?
Will the tax burden, the share of GDP paid in tax, be going up or down over the next 5 years? Simple, and up or down?
Well, let me tell you, because of the decisions that I have taken as Chancellor, the tax burden will be over 0.5% of GDP less than it would have been. Are those taxes still higher than they were? Yes, they are. That's the answer to your question. The taxes are still higher because we spent a lot of money helping families with the furlough scheme, by the way, which saved 10 million jobs. That was the right thing to do. So I'm not pretending that taxes haven't had to go up. But what you see today, combined with the autumn statement,
there will still be a higher tax burden in 2028, judging by your own figures. So on the one hand, you say you're in favour of cutting taxes for people, but your own figures suggest that by 2028, which for a lot of people is a long way away, the tax burden would be higher.
Well, let's look at what's going to happen next year for someone on the average wage. Because we've frozen the tax thresholds, their taxes will go up by about £230 compared to if we'd increased those thresholds with inflation. But because of the national insurance cuts announced yesterday and in the autumn, their tax will go down by about £900. So I'm not pretending for one moment that we're able to bring the taxes all the way down to pay for that COVID debt in one go. But the changes I've made over recent fiscal events mean I'm bringing down the tax burden by about 0.5% of GDP.
Public services are going to get worse, aren't they? That is a fact.
It's not a fact, Ranveer. And by the way, on social care, in my first autumn statement, I put up the budget by nearly 40%, over 5 billion or nearly £5 billion. So I think social care is very, very important. But what I said yesterday was, if we are going to live within that tight envelope, public spending going up by an average of 1% a year in real terms. So it's not going down, but it's going up by a relatively small amount. 7
million people are being dragged into higher tax bands. Fiscal drag is now raising 41.1 billion. That's twice the amount of your NI cut. So just for the viewers to be clear, you are cutting national insurance, but because of fiscal drag, people being pulled up into tax bands because you've frozen them, that's a lot more people paying more tax.
No, that is the wrong interpretation of the numbers.
You can understand why colleagues are feeling really anxious that you're not giving them more to sell on the doorstep.
Well, let me put it this way. I don't agree with that choice, the way you framed it, because I think the reason people vote Conservative is because they trust us with their family's money and they trust us with the economy.
This payment, this settlement that was paid to an academic after the Science Secretary Michelle Donnellan had falsely accused them of supporting Hamas. A settlement of £15,000 has been paid by the taxpayer. Did you approve that?
I don't think I did, because the Chancellor only approves much larger sums of money. But it is normal practice that government lawyers support government ministers in legal cases that brought against government ministers in the course of their duties. This was a payment that was made without admission of liability, as I understand it, and it was paid, I think, to reduce the cost that would be incurred to the taxpayer if there was a protracted legal case.
So does that mean, I understand there's precedent there, you might well also understand that a lot of people are very confused that taxpayer has to pay up when Michelle Donnellan makes what appears to be a private comment, not directly linked to her work. She's the Science Secretary. Do you think it's right that taxpayers, bearing in mind what we've been talking about today, do you think it's right?
Well, that would be a judgment for the Permanent Secretary, Michelle Donnellan's department.
To be fair, you are the Chancellor,
Mr.
Mr. Hunt. To be fair, you're the
Yes,
Chancellor.
I know.
I appreciate there are responsibilities here. I'm asking you as a grown-up Chancellor who often handles difficult questions like this, what you think.
You've put £100,000 of your own money into your constituency. Why is that? Is that because people aren't investing in your local section or giving money to the Conservatives? Or is it that you're so worried about losing your seat to the Lib Dems that you're having to bankroll your own association and therefore campaign?
I put that money in mainly because during the pandemic, it was not possible to do fundraising in the normal way. I've got a brilliant team in my constituency and we do some fantastic local campaigning and I wanted that to continue despite the fact that we couldn't fundraise. But have I got a tough fight against the Lib Dems? Absolutely, and I've never taken that for granted.
Your senior colleague Andrew Bowie was criticising your budget yesterday, hours after you unveiled it, talking about the windfall tax being, quotes, deeply disappointing. Is it now acceptable for colleagues to attack the budget on the day it's delivered?
Look, I understand that was a challenging measure for people in Scotland. We did it because the war in Ukraine has meant that energy prices are going to stay higher for longer than many people predicted at the start of that conflict. It is an additional contribution from companies that are making unexpected profits. I think in the end it's fair, but I understand it's challenging in Scotland.
Last couple of questions. Your changes to the child benefit system are widely welcome, increasing the cut-off threshold, changing the way the tapering system works. But that's been in place since 2013. Why so long to make the changes?
Look, if you ask me changes I want to make to the tax system, Nick, it's a list as long as your arm. But I can only do them when I can afford to. And I was just pleased to be able to make that progress yesterday.